Trust is a funny thing. You spend years building it, reinforcing it, believing in it. And then, in a single moment, it shatters. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in tiny, silent cracks that you don't even notice until it's too late. I used to believe my wife, Emily, was the most honest person I knew. We had been together for 7 years, married for 4. We weren't perfect, but we were happy, or at least I thought we were. Looking back, the first lie was small. It was a Tuesday night, and Emily was in the kitchen, sipping a glass of wine while scrolling through her phone. I walked in, kissed her on the cheek, and glanced at her screen. Just an instinct. Not because I didn't trust her, but because that's what couples do. She tilted the phone away. Just slightly. It was quick, so quick, almost convinced myself I imagined it. But something about that tiny movement felt wrong. Like a reflex. Like she didn't want me to see. I laughed it off. Who's that? She barely looked up. Just work stuff. I let it go. I shouldn't have. The weekend that changed everything. A week later, she mentioned she had to work late. Nothing unusual. Emily was an event planner, and big projects always meant long hours. But something felt off. I don't know why, but I checked her location that night. Not because I was suspicious, just curious. She wasn't at work. She was in a neighborhood across town, a residential area. I stared at the screen, my heart beating a little too fast. Maybe she was visiting a friend. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe. She came home around midnight, looking exhausted. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch TV, but my mind was racing. How was work? I asked. She sighed, kicked off her heels. Brutal. The client kept changing everything last minute. I'm wiped. Perfect answer. Too perfect. I wanted to ask her about her location. I wanted to tell her I knew. But a part of me was scared. Scared that if I pushed, I wouldn't like the answer. So I stayed silent. And that was my biggest mistake. The message that broke me. It was 2 weeks later when I saw it. Emily had left her phone on the counter while she was in the shower. Normally, I wouldn't even glance at it. But when it buzzed, something made me look. A message. Just 3 words. I miss you. No name. Just a number. My stomach twisted. My hands felt numb. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't unlock it. But I didn't need to. Because deep down, I already knew. I just wasn't ready to admit it yet. I should have confronted her that night. I should have held up the phone, pointed to the message, and demanded an explanation. Instead, I hesitated. Maybe it was fear. Maybe I wasn't ready to hear her lie to my face. Or maybe, deep down, I still wanted to believe in her. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I waited. I started paying attention to the little things. The way she smiled at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The sudden, uncharacteristic effort she put into her appearance, even when she was just running errands. The nights she came home smelling like a cologne that wasn't mine. And I noticed something else. She had started locking her phone. We had never been that kind of couple. We knew each other's passwords, not because we snooped, but because we had nothing to hide. But now when I picked up her phone to hand it to her, it wouldn't unlock. One night I asked casually, "Hey, what's your passcode again?" She hesitated. Just for a second. But it was enough. "Oh, I changed it. Work stuff, you know how it is." I nodded, forcing a smile. But inside, I was already breaking. Following the trail. By the 3rd week, I couldn't take it anymore. That's when I did something I never imagined I'd do. I followed her. She had told me she was meeting her friend Sarah for dinner. I acted normal, kissed her goodbye, told her to have fun. But the second she walked out the door, I grabbed my keys and left a minute after her. She wasn't going to Sarah's. I followed at a distance, heart pounding as she drove across town. And when she finally pulled into a dimly lit parking lot outside an upscale bar, my stomach sank. Because someone was already waiting for her. A man. Tall, well-dressed, confident. He leaned against his car like he belonged there, like he belonged with her. And the worst part? She smiled when she saw him. Not a polite smile. Not a friendly smile. A real smile. The kind she hadn't given me in months. She walked up to him, and he pulled her in, his hands settling on her waist like they belonged there. I couldn't breathe. I watched, frozen in my car, as they walked inside together. And in that moment, my world collapsed. I don't remember driving home that night. I don't remember turning the key in the ignition or the city lights blurring past me. All I remember is the hollow feeling in my chest, like something inside me had cracked open and spilled out. Emma, the woman I loved, the woman I had built a life with, was with another man. And she wasn't just sneaking around. She was comfortable with him. Familiar. Like this had been going on for a while. I spent the night staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of her breathing next to me when she finally came home. She smelled like expensive cologne and red wine. I didn't ask her about Sarah. She didn't mention her either. We were living in different realities now. The plan? I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I had watched enough people get blindsided by half-truths and fake apologies. If I gave her a chance, she would lie. She would twist things around, gaslight me, make me feel like I was crazy. So instead, I gathered proof. I started tracking her location through our shared Google account. Every time she left for work meetings or girls' nights, I checked where she actually went. It was always him. Always that same bar, that same parking lot. Some nights, they left together. Some nights, they disappeared for hours, and when she finally came home, she would sigh, kiss me on the forehead, and climb into bed like nothing was wrong. Like I was just some clueless fool waiting for her. It made me sick. But I wasn't just collecting evidence for myself. I was preparing for something bigger. The text. I had debated for days on what to do. Divorce? Expose her in front of family and friends? Ruin her reputation? But one night, after another late shift where she came home with her lipstick smudged and her excuses weak, I made a different decision. I texted him. Me, I know about you and Emma. Let's talk. I expected him to ignore it, maybe even block me. But a few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Who is this? I smirked. Me, her husband. A long pause. Then, unknown number. Meet me. I had no idea what to expect. But I agreed. The next day, I sat across from him at a small, quiet cafe. He looked nervous. I didn't. I leaned back in my chair and stared him down. Tell me everything. And what he told me. It changed everything. I expected him to be defensive, maybe even aggressive. But when he sat down across from me, his hands were shaking. His name was Alex. He was younger than me, maybe by a few years. He had that clean-cut, well-dressed look that made him seem like the kind of guy who had his life together. But right now, he looked terrified. I didn't speak first. I just stared at him, waiting. Finally, he exhaled and rubbed his hands over his face. This isn't what you think. I almost laughed. You're sleeping with my wife. I think it's exactly what I think. No, he shook his head. I mean, yes, but he hesitated. I didn't know she was married. I blinked. What? He swallowed hard. She told me she was single. Lies. I wanted to call bullshit right there, but something in his expression made me hesitate. He wasn't gloating. He wasn't smirking like some smug homewrecker. He looked genuinely shaken. I leaned forward. How long? He hesitated again. Then, in a barely audible voice, almost a year. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. A year? I had been sleeping next to her, loving her, trusting her, for an entire year while she lived a double life. I gritted my teeth. Tell me everything. Alex nodded, rubbing his hands together. We met at a charity gala. She was different. Charming, funny. We hit it off, and I asked for her number. She told me she was new to the city, that she hadn't dated in a while. She acted shy about it. He let out a bitter laugh. I actually thought I was the one chasing her. I felt sick. She never let me come to her place, he continued. Said she was staying with a friend while looking for an apartment. We always met at my place or hotels. Of course, she had built an entire fake life with him. I clenched my fists. And you never questioned it? He sighed. I did. But she always had answers. And I believed her. He shook his head. You have to understand, man. I thought she was it for me. She made me feel like I was the only person in the world. I knew exactly what he meant, because she had done the same thing to me. A cold realization crept over me. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't just a cheating wife. This was something else. I stared at Alex. Do you know if she's seeing anyone else? His face paled. And that's when I realized I wasn't the only husband. I sat there, staring at Alex, my mind racing. I had come here expecting to confront my wife's lover. Instead, I found myself sitting across from another victim. And worse, I had a feeling there were more. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? Alex ran a hand through his hair, his face tense. She's secretive. Even with me. She disappears for days sometimes, says she's traveling for work, but she never lets me call her during those times. And lately, I felt like he hesitated. Like I'm not the only one. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just cheating. This was something bigger. I pulled out my phone. Do you have pictures of you two together? Alex nodded and with shaking hands, scrolled through his phone before turning the screen toward me. I saw her, my wife, smiling, holding his hand, kissing him, in places she told me she had never been to. The betrayal burned through me like acid. But then, something clicked. I pointed at one of the pictures. When was this taken? Alex frowned. 2 months ago. My blood ran cold. I pulled up my calendar. She told me she was with her sister that weekend. Alex's eyes widened. We stared at each other. Then he whispered, "Who else is she lying to?" The search for the truth. That night, I didn't sleep. I spent hours digging, searching, going through old texts, emails, even her social media. And the more I looked, the worse it got. Different names, different excuses, different men. Alex and I weren't the only ones. There was a pattern. Every 6 months to a year, she'd start over. A new man, a new life, a new story. She'd keep them just close enough to be real, but always distant enough to control the narrative. She had built multiple relationships at the same time. It wasn't just cheating. It was a game to her. I found another name in her text, someone named Daniel, a man she had been flirting with just weeks ago. I called him. He answered on the second ring. Hello. I took a breath. Hey, this is going to sound insane, but do you know an Emma? Silence. Then, oh my God, my chest tightened. You too. Daniel let out a shaky breath. I proposed to her last month. My vision blurred. My ears rang. She had been engaged to someone else while still married to me. I had thought my world had already crumbled. I was wrong. The setup. By the time Emma came home the next day, I was waiting. I didn't yell. I didn't throw accusations. I simply set my phone on the counter, open to everything I had found. Her messages with Alex. Her pictures with Daniel. The flight confirmations. The locations. The proof. For the first time in our entire marriage, she had nothing to say. Her mouth opened, then closed. She blinked. Then, in the most chillingly calm voice, she simply said, "So, what you going to do?" No apology. No remorse. Just cold calculation. Like I was just a problem she had to deal with. Something inside me snapped. I leaned forward, my voice just as calm. I already did it. Her eyes flickered. I smiled. Alex and Daniel? They know everything. And we compared notes. And guess what? So do the others. For the first time, I saw it. Fear. Real, raw fear in her eyes. I leaned in closer. You don't get to play the victim, Emma. You don't get to lie your way out of this one. We know who you are now. She exhaled sharply, her expression shifting, calculating again. This doesn't have to get messy. I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, it's already messy. Then I slid the divorce papers across the counter. And when she saw how much she was losing, that's when she finally broke. The aftermath. It took months to fully unravel everything she had done. She had drained money from accounts, lied about debts, even stolen from one of the other men. She wasn't just a cheater. She was a con artist. I cut her out completely. Legally, financially, everything. And the others, they did too. The last I heard, she had skipped town, disappeared, probably moving on to her next victim. But this time, we had warned people. She couldn't hide forever. And I had a feeling one day someone she wronged would finally catch up to her. And when that day comes, I hope she knows exactly how it feels to be played.